Welcome to the XpertHost Hospitality Leadership Series, the podcast where we bring you insights, strategies, and stories from the most influential leaders in the hospitality industry. I am your host, Bertrand Moreno, founder of XpertHost, and I'm thrilled to have you here as we dive deep into the world of hospitality leadership. In this series, we sit down with top executives, visionaries, and culture champions who are shaping the future of our industry. Whether you are an aspiring leader, a seasoned professional, or someone passionate about driving excellence in this dynamic industry, this podcast is designed to equip you with the knowledge and inspiration to take your career and business to the next level. Today, it's my honor to introduce a truly inspiring leader, Mariano Faz, CEO at ACE Hospitality Management, one of the fastest growing white label hotel management companies in Portugal. Mariano, good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real privilege to have you on this second episode of the XpertHost Hospitality Leadership Series. I really appreciate you making the time from your busy schedule, and again, congratulations on your recent achievements at ACE Hospitality Management. I know that you recently, as you mentioned, signed a new hotel, and also I think last year you added 4 new units in Porto, Évora, Albufeira, and Bija. So as you know, the goal of this series is to bring real and filtered leadership stories to the forefront so that both seasoned professionals and emerging leaders can learn from the experiences of those who have shaped hospitality at the highest level. Mariano, you are currently the CEO of ACE Hospitality Management, one of the fastest growing hotel management companies in Portugal. And I'm really curious to learn more about your story, how you started your career, and how have you grown it over time to your current role.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, Bertrand, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Well, I started my career in finance, right? So I studied economics and I studied master in finance, so I never thought that I was going to end up in the hospitality industry. Well, actually, I didn't have a specific industry that I worked with, no? But I started as a financial, my early days in a company that was not related to the hospitality industry. So that's how I started. But actually what it changed, it was I took a role back in time that I started in Barcelona hotels that as a business development, working in business development in Europe, which I was doing pretty much the numbers, the number crunchings and the analysis, the investment analysis and so forth. And then suddenly I started doing more market research and then started negotiating deals. And that's how I started the hospitality industry, which I didn't even know by that time what was an ADR or RevPAR, so to initiate with, So those finance skills has gone throughout all my careers. So I'm talking about more than 24 years ago that I started approximately. And since then, so I've been assuming different roles in operations, in strategic, in consultancy, in asset management, and obviously, and right now as a white label management company. So it's kind of varies throughout my years.
Absolutely. So started in finance, then you transitioned into hotels with Barcelona, doing business development in Europe, and over the last almost over 2 decades, right? You've been growing until your current role today as CEO of white label management company in Portugal, which I understand is a fast growing market in Europe, and very curious to learn from your perspective, right? What are some of the trends that you see in the hotel market in Portugal, and what in your view makes it more attractive than other destinations in Europe, particularly for owners looking to invest in the hotel market?
Well, I think Portugal is one of the fastest evolving countries in Europe that has been for the last, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years approximately. The tourism industry has already a weight, in the GDP here in Portugal. But the new brands that are coming in, all the new flights that are coming into Portugal. And the way the country is been evolving and progressing, that has been one of, I would say, of the main countries in hospitality that is at this moment and has shown a big growth. So we still, I believe, riding the wave. I believe that there's still a lot of opportunities within Portugal. It's a known country, but in a way also there's a lot of places that still need to be discovered. So it's getting into the right direction, and I think that the growth is quite positive, in general.
And are there any particular cities within Portugal, the ones that you mentioned, for example, that are still to be discovered, that excite you more than any others? Or do you have any favorite destinations at the moment in your pipeline?
I think if you remove obviously Lisbon and Porto from the formula, because these are extremely super important cities. We believe that, for instance, the region of Alentejo, that you have cities such as Évora, and even Algarve, you have a lot of places that still that could develop even further. So there is and the center of Portugal. So you still see a lot of areas that for growth, and for tourism and to discover. Potentially, some of them could be more rural side of things, some of them more cultural. But still a lot of potential in each of one of these regions. So exciting times, I would say.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like, as you say, right? All these little corners still to be discovered. And on that context, how do you position ACE for growth in this competitive market, right? Also with different players. How do you position the company for future growth in this competitive landscape?
Well, that's a good question, actually, because one of the key things is to be able to differentiate, and I would say that there's a lot of things, but one of the things that we try to differentiate through creativity, through the proactivity of our teams, and also we have a very unique business model that is very asset management approach, So actually, AHM is a B2B brand. It is a third-party management company that has different franchises in every hotel. So we look at the building, we just decide what is the best brand that could be able to bring that value to the building, and we adapt our brand to the hotel. So it is, I would say that for that you need to be extremely creative sometimes, because you may end up managing a 5-star Grand Luxury to a 3-star limited services, or you can be managing a small hotel in a countryside, right? So it's the key of is adaptation, and not to kind of restrain yourself for a specific type of asset, So we are opening. We can manage all sort of asset class in terms of categories and brandings and even sizes as well. We could be able to be managing 300 key hotel to a 20 key hotel now. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the points. And the second one is the differentiation that we are doing through our food and beverage business, that we are true believers in that. And I think it's going to be, and it is right now, and it's proven that it is a key differentiator factor, versus other hotel operators,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really interesting, as you say, on one hand, well, your ability, right, to be able to manage different property sizes with various brands and really identifying what's the best brand for each asset, which brings me to maybe another point, which is how do you, when you're selecting, right, from the many different hotel brands that you have today, what are some of the key considerations that you're taking into account when you have an asset and you need to rebrand it?
Well, the question is what the asset needs, and the location, the type of asset, and how we want to position the asset. This is going to be a lifestyle asset. This is going to be a 3-star. It's going to be a 4-star. It's going to be a 5-star. How many keys? It's going to have meeting rooms, etc., etc. So the first thing is, what are the specifics of the asset? And then we carry out a study, and then we look at all the pros and cons and how is best positioned that asset should be. Once we have taken that approach and we define in a high level, what is the best, what suits best for that type of market or micro location, then is when we start entertaining the different brands, and the discussions, which, in all honesty as well, those discussions also provide you input, because they have a long expertise across worldwide. No? Mm-hmm. So we listen to them as well, and they say, okay, we see this type of brand here because X, Y, and Z. And for us, yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, we thought about this, but this also could fit, and it fits to the size of the rooms, or the clientele that we need to bring, or any other, or there is no other across the location, the same type of hotel asset. So it's a kind of an evolving decision, no? But obviously it lies specifically on the type of asset, no? that we have, no? And how. The question is how we get the best use and the best performance of that asset, and then from there, it triggers all the decisions. No.
Absolutely. So all this conversation, as you mentioned, right, with the brands, where you're listening to them as well and assessing what story you like the most, is always on top of your head. You're thinking always about what the hotel needs and what brand will do best for the hotel. And the second point you mentioned, going back to the food and beverage element of the property, right? What are some of the concepts that have you found more successful at the moment and that are aligned with current guest expectations in the hotels that you are currently having under management?
I think it's a very good question in a way that we have so many different concepts that we're working on, from casual to fine dining to lifestyle. So again, it's a very asset management approach. And the question is, okay, what suits better in this specific market, in this specific location, no? So, and it doesn't matter. And one of the key things I believe is you need to refrain yourself, or you need to separate yourself from the, let's say, category of the hotel or the look and feel of the hotel. So you need to treat this. The key point here is to treat it differently. No, you may have a 3-star hotel, which is, we have one case, no, that we have came up with a more fine dining restaurant, right? So that's why it has to be a 3-star hotel. Why do you have to have a 3-star or 2-star restaurant? Or very mid-level or low-level restaurant? You don't need to. I mean, it's completely two different markets, two different type of clientele, no? And they say, and the taking the decision process is completely different from one to the other, no? When you book a room or when you book a table, right? So that, having that in mind, what we look is about the market, what the market needs from a restaurant perspective and the local market, because are the ones who are going to be using the restaurant. We don't analyze the restaurant from what the client of the hotel is going to be looking at, because the client of the hotel, as we are being clients when we travel especially, we want to go where the locals go, right?
Yes.
So the key thing is to attract the locals. So if the locals want a pizzeria that we have in one of our hotels, we give them a pizzeria. If they want burgers, we give them burgers. If it's something that they want an experience with more music, kind of a pub, something, so we created that. So that's it is very important to be able to attract the local customers and to be able to get the local attraction and to think and manage through the local community, right? And then the clients will come because obviously what they want is an experience, no, a natural experience, and not to be in something that is, okay, it's nice to be in a hotel, but I just want to go out or something. And say, okay, if the people are coming in, why do you need to go out, right? So
yes.
So that's very key, no. But for that, it takes a lot of efforts, obviously, because we need to create different brands, different concepts, and sometimes it has to be completely different experience even from the hotel. So yeah, that's it. But that's part of the fun, no, I would say.
So instead of course, looking at what your guests at the hotel are going to need, you look at the market, right? The locals, where they're going to be going, and well, hoping as well, of course, that you can adjust to the needs of what your guest wants and what the locals want, which, as you put the example there, right? You could end up in an extreme scenario where you're having a fine dining restaurant on a 3-star hotel. Is that actually a case that's happened with your hotels under management?
Yes, actually. I mean, we have a Holiday Inn Express in Évora, actually. And then we open a fine dining, which is called Forno da Tella, which is excellent food. And and it's being filled by locals. But the curiosity thing is that some of the guests of the hotels, they also go to have dinner, no? And sometimes they may spend more money than sometimes what they're paying for the room, but it's not comparable, and that's the point. When you make a decision, when you go to a hotel, you take it from specific reasons, no? I just want to sleep, I just want a clean bed. I mean, maybe you don't put that much importance on the room.
Yes.
But when you go out for dinner, I just want to, I don't know, go out with my wife or my family. And that for you, that moment, it might be more important than where you sleep, right? So the dynamics of the decisions are, so you need to differentiate those. Obviously, the interior design is not the same. Obviously, the experience is not a Holiday Inn Express because it's a different experience, no? But the dynamics are completely different. Why, if you go to a 5-star hotel, why can't you have a very casual lunch? Okay, why do you have to be pricey? It's completely different dynamics, and that's how the way we approach it. But for that, you need to break certain mentality rules, no? And that's what we're doing in a way, and that also differentiates us from the rest, no?
I find it really, really innovative, because it's something I not have heard that before. And how do you ensure with all these concepts, right, that you're currently working on, that they also, of course, remain profitable, which in the food and beverage department, as you know, is always one of the biggest challenges, right? Where its margins perhaps are not as great as in the rooms department. How do you ensure that all these concepts are also delivering, right, profit?
Yeah, well, it's not all the concept we are gonna get it right, obviously, because the F&B world is always a very dynamic and very challenging and very changing. If you look at it from the perspective of profitability versus obviously the effort, usually the room's always going to be the winners, no? Because the effort that you put into the rooms versus the profitability, you get really high profitabilities on that, while the F&B is very labor intensive, and the profitabilities could be on those more short, like 10, 15, 20%, no, at the most, right? That you get on the bottom line. One of the key things is that it's a mindset, is the proactivity, is the culture, no? Actually, the moment that you have a winning concept, the whole thing gets super positive, not on the financial side of things, but also on the hotel and the clients, no? Because we have some clients that we know that they repeat the hotel because of the F&B experience, no? Obviously, it's difficult to measure that because you don't know if they are repeating because of the room or they're repeating on the F&B, but we can feel that there is some traction on that. How do we keep in score, no, on that, no? And that is through our structure, through our GMs, through the teams, training, and being focused on that the concept is different. So once you end up, let's say, the breakfast, then it's a new concept coming in, right? And that they need to be thinking about the external. So is that dynamic to make it more dynamic, the spaces, to make it more attractive. And also one of the important points is to be patient, because sometimes what we do is in the hotel, sometimes, okay, I need some sales, you drop a little bit the price, and then suddenly it starts coming in.
Yes.
The performance, right? So, and then it takes 2 seconds, basically, you just drop the price and finish, and then you have that. In the restaurant, you don't do that. You cannot have that. So that there is a lot more effort that needs to be put into place. So you need to measure those. And sometimes your restaurant and the ramp-up period as well, you need to understand, it depends on the restaurant, what is the ramp-up period that it relates. No? Mm-hmm. So you have to be honest with yourself that you may say, look, in the first 5 months, we are going to lose money here, right? But we know that if things get into the right pace, people are coming back, and then suddenly you turn into kind of loss-making business into a profitable business. But you have to make sure each restaurant has its own, let's say, maturity and growth. And that is where the key thing is, not to get desperate, just to understand what you are being involved with, no? And especially in the mindset. So when you have the good foundations, when you have the right attitude, you have the right teams, and the clients are giving you great feedback, and things are going into the right direction, you may be losing money in the first 2 or 3 months, but then it will come back. Okay, it's gonna happen. No, so having that patience, I think, is key. And I would say the second thing is mindset, proactivity, to be extremely curious, to be extremely creative and innovative. There is the F&B space is sky is the limit, because you can every day you can have a different not concept but a different activation, no? Mm-hmm. And that in the hotels is more difficult to do. So that's but that's how we do it. But obviously it is key to understand what is the level of expectations that you have in each outlet, no?
Yes. No, thanks for touching base on that. And when you mention about the ramp up period, and of course you have to be patient, because as you said, right, you cannot just drop the price of the menu and then, well, if you have a repeating guest, they will expect a different price, and that can create confusion. It's not something you can do in a same way that you can with a hotel, where maybe you have lower occupancy, you drop the price, and then you have people going through the door, right? What type of ramp up period do you expect on these concepts that you're launching on average?
Look, on average, I would say between 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. It depends on the concept. There are concepts that are quite easy, and then you see that it's a nice fit. And some other concepts that it requires a lot more marketing efforts and to make them understand. But I would say 3 to 6, that would be it's way much shorter sometimes than the hotels. But it's when you start seeing that this is going in the right direction, and maybe you need to shift a few things, no? Eventually, I'm a believer that all restaurant concepts works. The only thing is that you need to get it right, and you need to get especially the right team and the right attitude, no? Because you can make all the best concept in town, but if the person over there sits and responsible sits and does not do anything, mm-hmm. or is not proactive enough, then the execution is the one that kills maybe the 90% of all the ideas, right? So execution is extremely key. And sometimes if I'm taking decisions, I say, okay, you know what? We stop and let's go back to the drawing board, because I'm not convinced of the execution side. And until we don't get it, that everybody's aligned, everybody is on the same page, on the same mindset, I think that is one of the key things that sometimes concepts do not work, no? So is the restaurant going to work? Maybe yes, but maybe it's that it needs a little bit of different energy, no, to deploy, no? Mm. And that's important.
I think that's absolutely on point, because in my view, I fully agree, right? A good idea with poor execution is probably not going to be as great as maybe an average idea, right? But you execute it perfectly, then that's more legs. And execution is something that it's really challenging to get it right, but also yes. Super important, and it's essential to make anything work. That execution, right, that you're talking about. Coming back to the challenging part, right? Hospitality, of course, industry with many changes, and we've seen it in recent years with COVID. Now we have so many technology that's disrupting ways of, we're doing things and so on. What have been some of the most significant obstacles that you've faced, whether on your current role or maybe in previous roles in your career, and how do you turn those into opportunities?
Well, I would say that I'm going to be a bit generic, but I believe people will understand it. And I think it applies not only on the hospitality industry, but it applies potentially in every industry. The challenges I face is obviously what we have discussed right now on the execution side, okay? That has been always very, very challenging, and sometimes, and when you get it right, it's super right. When you get it wrong, sometimes it can go really wrong. And one of the things as well, the challenges that you face throughout the career is the egos, no, of the different professionals, no, and the idea when you are, and sometimes it goes in relation, because one of the enemies that I've found of those challenges throughout the career is when you want to execute a great idea that could be from whoever, it doesn't matter who is the idea from, and everybody's aligned and they want to execute it. Sometimes you get the stopovers because someone in the line, because it was not his idea, or because they didn't tell me, or I was not being informed, so it gets the ego in the way, and it gets a little bit sometimes even personal, no? And that's one of the killers at the end of the day, because then suddenly it detracts from the overall objective, and it gets a bit too personal and not without really making a lot of sense, no. And how to overcome these challenges? Well, I think is to make always your organizations very flat, very open, and humble in a way, you know, and try to be everybody on the team that yes, we need to accept feedback, we need to enhance it, we need to accommodate it. It's not always my idea is the one that has to prevail. So sometimes my ideas from a CEO perspective might not be the best ones, and sometimes they are not. But that's why you have the people as well and those discussions. And when you open up that game, then the ego starts being a little bit, you know, smooth. No, we all have an ego, obviously. No, that's not something that we are not going to right now ask for something impossible, right? But one thing is the ego that allows you to survive, and another thing is the ego that just basically interferes with everything. No, so I think the challenge is always found it is on the execution side, and the how to overcome them is to be transparent in what you want to do, and basically obviously performance focus. No, that if you want to execute something is because you just want better. No, and it's important for everybody. We all win. No, if we perform right. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, of course, you will have an advantage given you're at the helm of the company and you're able to implement this type of set the right behaviors for the team and the right culture where people are allowed to, you know, bring ideas, and those can be measured in a way that, well, it's meritocratic. It doesn't matter who's bringing it. Egos aside, of course, as you said, right? We all have it, but keep it in check and
Yeah.
and yeah, let the best idea win, which is, I think, quite an entrepreneurial way of operating. How do you keep that spirit alive within the company?
Well, I think it's you have to be entrepreneur, no? So in order to transmit the spirit, right? So I think it's the key thing is that accountability is very important. No, everybody needs to be responsible for something, right? And for that, you need to draft the systems. You need to be able to provide certain KPIs. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to be transparent, and especially provide the grounds for people to perform, right? And so micromanagement is not in our DNA because it's a waste of time. And actually what we do is, look, I mean, this is your project. We are here obviously to support because nowadays a one-man show does not exist. It's so complicated, the hospitality industry, right? Even the F&B, everything is so complicated. So you need so many parties. It's been so disruptive, from technologies, from the competition, from new investors coming into play, non-traditional, some more with different objectives, etc., etc. So it has overall has complicated the picture. So in order to keep the entrepreneur, I always tell the teams, I said, okay, we have a lot of strong management people in my company that they know very well in a specific area, and they are very, very into that, right? So what you need to do is, if you are the leader of a project, is to use all the knowledge and to be able to bind it together and to be able to execute according to a set up plan that obviously goes with budgets, forecasts that has been, or business plans that has been involved. So the key thing is that entrepreneur spirit is to be able to have that grounds to do that, but be proactive. And not to be, and one of the key points as well is you have to have a controlled risk. So don't be afraid of committing mistakes, because we all commit mistakes. I commit mistakes every single day, obviously. But the thing is, you need to be able that at least that risk or that mistake is within some time frame. I say, okay, we're gonna do this. We are gonna take this risk. We all know it, so we are all aware and about that, and then it's where things comes into place, right? So that entrepreneur is to provide that ground, and obviously that comes from me first, and also from my management team.
Brilliant. And yes, as you say, right, there's to be controlling places and systems, making people accountable. It sounds, of course, certainly easier said than done, probably. Yes. In terms of, you mentioned before, right? I wanted to come back on you're managing different brands and yes, based on the need of each of the hotels that you have, which as well, part of what you do as managers is to ensure that each of the properties is performing as the owner will expect. And sometimes, well, that, especially with so many different brands, the expectations of different parties can be maybe not fully aligned. So how do you handle, those different brand standards that brands set and keeping them consistent across the properties and balancing all those needs of parties, which I can imagine is also probably another challenge that is very present on the day-to-day of this type of setup, right? With so many different parties.
Yes, indeed. I mean, for us, it's a kind of a plus, no? Because we learn from all of them, so we can bring best practices in different situations. And every brand, you have the big brands, like the Hiltons, Marriotts, and and then they have the sub brands, which is by specifics and does. And even from, you can be with Marriott and then have a Four Points and have a Renaissance, and there are different clienteles, there are different dynamics. What we do is it's a more intensive, because we need to adapt the operations. It's extremely intensive. They have to adapt to the specifics of that brand. But the good thing it's the brands that provide you a very clear time frame of operations. They have a very clear procedures. They know the client very well. They know, they have been in the industry for a lot of years, and they know that that brand works specifically well, X, Y, and Z. So actually, you just need to adapt that to the local market, because sometimes there are specifics in the local market that you need to bring up. But actually, it runs out the opposite. I think it's the moment that you have a brand, it sets a very, I wouldn't say clear, but some kind of expectations, okay? And then you know how far can that hotel with that brand can go, no? But the effect on our team is extremely positive, because it brings value to our operations, and especially into our revenue management team, that actually it is a multi-platform team. They know all the system. Every brand has its own system, its own revenue management system. And so they are becoming very versatile in the use of each one of them. So we can see, who is doing the best practice in here, or easy way here. So we can provide also good feedback. And sometimes the brands ask us about the feedback. So how do you see us? No, are we flexible? Are we, entrepreneur enough? Are we providing the value? So it's a very interesting experience, but it's a lot of wealth and a lot of goodwill that we are accumulating due to that, no? And obviously the relationships with the brands, we embrace them, no? Which we believe they bring a lot of value to the pot, right?
Absolutely. I can see how that can be, as you said, right? Insightful. You explore different ways of doing things, and you take the best out of each brand, and that must make the experience much more interesting, especially for the owners that can also see, okay, what's working best, what's not working as good. Moving on to perhaps some insights from your perspective for aspiring leaders in the industry who might one day want to walk the same path that you've done or similar to get to that top role. What type of key skills and qualities, you've already of course mentioned some of those through the conversation, like being proactive and being creative and developing that entrepreneurial mindset. Are there any particular ones that you believe are truly essential to be successful in today's market?
There's a lot of them, obviously, and there's so many different skills if you are trying to find the perfect, right, which does not exist, no? But what I do appreciate, apart from what we have been saying that comes across, I think there are three key things that I would say. First is listening. Second, I would say be curious. And the third thing, be humble, no? Mm-hmm. Humility, no? Why am I saying this, no? When and it's related to how the industry is evolving, no? The industry is getting more and more complex. Now the new technologies, the artificial intelligence and so forth, no? The OTAs, all the internet marketing is even very, very complex as well. It's getting more complex. So by listening is kind of like you're admitting that you don't know, no? That you're admitting that you want to learn, and that's something that is very powerful, because you need to listen before you do something, no? So that keeps you knowing where you are. That you need to add it with curiosity. So that means asking questions, ask questions. I encourage also my team to ask questions. And sometimes in the industry, they don't ask so many questions, no? They should be asking more questions. And that's something that you learn from those questions. So you listen, you learn from those, and be humble enough to ask those questions. And it doesn't matter that you don't know. Show vulnerability. There's no problem not to know. And that creates kind of a new way of working, no, in the hospitality, because hospitality has come a very traditional frame that theoretically the GM is the person who needs to know it all, no, that basically was taking all the shots and I know everything and I'm supposed to know everything. I said, how are you gonna know everything? It's just literally technically impossible, no? So if you are not humble enough to admit that, then is when things are not in the right way, right? So for people who will be listening and for people that want to grow in their careers from a soft skills perspective, listen, be curious, ask the questions, and especially be humble. And then obviously out of that information, take your own decisions and risks, no? Then you have to take your own risk as well. But listen, because the knowledge is out there. The knowledge is out there, and you just have to. And sometimes a yes is not a yes, and what I say is the shortest from point A to point B is not the straight line. So sometimes it's not the shortest way, no? So that's I would say these three things that I believe it's very important to grow as a professional as well.
That's excellent advice. So listening, being curious, and being humble, which I would argue it's probably easier at early stages of your career, right? That maybe at later stages when you've gained a lot of experience, and coming back to the ego point, right? Which of course.
Exactly. Exactly. So it needs to be managed, no? Everybody has to manage their own expectations on that.
No, that's true. Any further advice that maybe, if we have any kind of early stage career along the audience, that maybe some things that you wish you had learned early on that would help you climb the ladder even faster?
Well, I think one of the key elements, and in a way people, when you're, and especially I believe the new generations, I think they are more aware about this, which is the culture. And obviously throughout my career, and I've lived in completely different cultures, no? Some of them better, some of them worse. It's true that you learn from everything, no? So you learn, it's like bad and good teachers, right? You learn from the bad and you learn from the good. Mm-hmm. From the bad and good bosses, no? From the bad you learn not to do certain things, right? So sometimes you need to know the bad things in order to appreciate the good ones. So, but I think for what it is important in an organization for people that are starting and for people is to understand in what culture they're in, no? And it has to be a culture that fits them, that they feel that they can perform, and that is a key element that sometimes when you are very young, no, that you want to do so many things and you want to grow, and some of them are more ambitious than others, and time for you, it seems that it's running super fast, and actually it's not running that slow, because you still have like a 30-year career, 40-year career in front of you, and you don't know where you are going to end up, no? You know where you start, but you don't know where you end up, no? I think they need to, if they are in the right culture, if they believe that they can grow within that culture, I think one of the key advices that is give yourself time and enjoy that ride, no? Learn and take the best out of it, because you will change in a future the job, and then suddenly you are not in the right. Suddenly you have all the skills, you have all the knowledge, but then you cannot deploy them accordingly, no? So that is obviously you learn it by experience, unfortunately, because that would be great if you know it from the first day. But I think it's an element that sometimes when you are young, you believe that you need to prove more on the technical skills and also forth of that. But you need to think if the culture is allowing you to deliver those skills, and if it does, then maybe you need to give yourself a bit more time in that environment, and maybe not to rush so much, no, in your career. No?
Yeah, so having that patience and the ability to understand the culture you're in,
yes.
and whether that, as you say, right, allows you make the best of your abilities, and yeah, that's very true. I think sometimes, especially when you're on interviews assessing what company to join, right? People, it's always a two-way conversation. You need to understand what's the culture like on the company, and equally, the company is assessing whether you're the right professional, right, for the role. But you touched base before on some of the technologies that are out there, and as you mentioned as well, the brands that you work with use different technologies. Are you able to, of course, I'm putting you maybe on a hot spot now, but to mention which of the brands you're working with are more tech savvy and making the most out of new technologies? Maybe if you don't want to say a name, but maybe an area where you have noticed this is going to be really a game changer.
Well, I think the thing is that I don't think there is any specific brand that say, okay, this is outstanding because of that, of this technology or something. I think all of them, they are extremely focused on being on top of the technology, and some of them, they are making some progress at this moment. Some of them, they make it 2 years ago, but now but the technology is changing so much. What I could say is that the good thing about having those brands is that these are obviously all the technology. You don't need to be so much. Yes, you need to be always knowing what is going on, right? But at the end of the day, they are the ones that they have to invest millions of dollars, into keeping up their loyalty programs, the central reservation system. So actually, the big stake is on them, not so much on us. That we are. We are smaller if we compare to we are way much more small if we compare to them, obviously, right? So that's it's. I would imagine that is one of the main topics that they are constantly looking at and investing and so forth. So that's something that we don't see like a big differentiators. We just see different ways of working, and ways of approaching technology. Some of them that might be a little bit older technology, but then you see that certain resources or certain changes has been deployed into the right thing, and so it's constantly changing, And some of them, they decide to outsource certain technologies into the guest journey, right, into the booking journey. So it varies. It's not better or worse. It's just for ourselves. The good thing is that we know that we are in the right hands in a way on the technology side of things, because otherwise we'll need another 200 people to understand if we want to be kind of you become a technology company, So and we are not a technology company, we're a management company. But actually these brands, I would say that they have a very, very strong investment on that field, no?
Yes, no, indeed. And are there any areas like, I don't know, maybe operations or the guest experience or revenue management, right? Which is a very data-rich function of any hotel, and of course, normally it's very measurable, and you can see is it working or is it maybe not working? Do you see any big changes that could be implemented by the brands or your company, perhaps, that you see, well, this is definitely going to be really value add on how you manage different properties? Or you think maybe on the other hand, there could be more that can be done because, as you say, it's a very traditional industry and certain changes are maybe sometimes more difficult to implement?
I think the areas that would be obviously more affected and which is being constantly looked at, is how we get the client into our doors, and how we can get it better, faster, more efficient, and to pretty much reduce all stressful points throughout the journey, and that is always going to be to make it seamless, and it's going to be on there. And then you can make it through the AI, through the machine learning, through all sorts of things. That is one key point. And the second thing is the revenue management. We believe that there's still a lot to do on the revenue management, and that's something that has been worked quite well since now, and the technology we see that has been deployed in that segment, but still a lot to do in the F&B space as well, and all of that. On the operations side, I think it's less than the technology helps you. The technology becomes it has to help you to become faster and better. But at the end of the day, a client is a client, a person is a person. You need to sit down, you need to speak with them, you need to understand what they feel, you need to understand also, and that it won't disappear. And that's something, the thing is that you need to be creative, you need to be innovative, and you need to surprise them, no? And that's the key thing. And that actually is way much more stronger than any technology in place, no? So if you surprise someone, he's gonna always, or she's gonna always remember you, no? And no matter where the technology is, no? And that's something that is very important. Innovation, creativity, that is important more, and embrace the technology in a way of, say, how can I improve using this, right? It's not a substitution. It's helping me. Then I don't have to do a specific task. I'm going to use this time to be more creative, no? Which not everybody can do it, no? But obviously it's a very important way of thinking, no?
Yes, so using that technology to enable that day-to-day task and empower you to do better and more. And I think you also mentioned another point which I thought was interesting, which is the distribution side, right? I think now with AI in particular, how our hotel room is going to be distributed and how is it going to impact the relationship with OTAs and that type of thing, but just a conversation which could last a lot much longer than we have time for, so I won't get there. But what I am curious is, in terms of looking ahead, you must have, of course, many different projects, and prioritizing them must be also very, very challenging in a growing company. What projects excite you most at the moment, Mariano, at Ace Hospitality?
Well, I think it's difficult to, it's like what children you prefer the most, no? But I think this year is an extremely interesting and exciting year. We are going to be reopening one hotel and opening 3 hotels, and extending one of our existing hotels. We're entering to the Lisbon market. We were not before in Lisbon. Now this year we're going to be in Lisbon, and it's very exciting in all sorts of ways. No, opening hotels is opening new businesses, launching new F&B restaurants. We're going to be launching a few of them throughout this year as well, and it's very exciting. The whole thing. When you open a hotel, is bringing life and staff and employment and experiences and all sorts of that. No, it's a business that is so exciting that when you have these new hotels, and then you see that the company is growing in the right direction, then it's quite exciting. No, here our point or our concentration is how obviously we manage to keep up the growth and to make it sustainable and to make it consistent and all of that. So that's it goes with everything, with that passion, no, that we have. So this year is going to be a fantastic year. We expect to be a strong year, and we're increasing our portfolio. So so far great things coming.
Yes, it's plenty to be excited about indeed, and I'm sure entering the market in Lisbon and creating new and innovative food and beverage concepts, and as you say, right, that will be quite a journey on its own. But Mariano, thank you very much for sharing your journey. We started learning a bit about your career path, and then you've explained the vision at Ace Hospitality Management, and you also share plenty of insights with us today. So thank you so much. I'm sure these will be very valuable for our audience and emerging leaders in the industry who hope to get to where you are and walk similar paths. Before we close, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share?
Well, I think pretty much it has been said in this conversation, which I really enjoyed, and I think it's I believe we need to, if I have to say things, keep listening, keep being curious, and the most important thing, keep being humble, because that it will all bring all positive outcomes. No, if you do that, and the most important thing is that you will grow personally and professionally. And that's how we want to manage our DNA, and that's the DNA of our company, no? So that would be my, let's say, to resume or to summarize a bit the whole thing, no? Which is not easy.
Stay curious, stay humble, and keep listening. That's brilliant, Mariano. Thank you so much again for the time, and looking forward to continuing the conversation in the future. And I'm very excited to share this interaction with the broader community. Thanks a lot, Mariano.
Fantastic, Bertrand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the XpertHost Leadership Series. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps more hospitality professionals like you discover the show. Have a question or a guest you would love to hear from? Connect with us on LinkedIn or visit experthost.xyz to stay updated on future episodes, career opportunities, and leadership insights. And if you're looking to take your hospitality career to the next level, reach out. We are here to help. See you in the next episode.